Can you read to me the nameplate?
Judge Eboni K. Williams.
So the only thing that matters in this particular courtroom is how I see it. I am from North Carolina by way of Louisiana with some West Coast cool and a New York edge. Do we have a problem, ma'am?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Equal justice is all about the most important values of our country: freedom, integrity, and those are the things that I'm striving for. Ma'am, you run your household, this man gets to run his. I decided to become an attorney and pursue the law. I wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. This court cannot hold this woman accountable. People from all sectors of life, black, white, purple, gay, straight, queer, and that's what equal justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams is all about.
Steph Foley claimed she got a DUI because she didn't know the brownies she ate had marijuana in them. Vanessa Tyson says she placed signs near the brownies and told partygoers the dessert contained cannabis.
I see Steph Foley here as my plaintiff and Vanessa Tyson as the defendant. Ms. Foley, you are suing the defendant for $1,209, and let me not leave out 99 cents. What are we in court today for?
Yes, Your Honor, I am suing today for the total cost of legal fees I incurred after leaving a party that Vanessa threw. I accidentally ingested a brownie that was full of cannabis. I didn't know it was full of cannabis, and upon leaving the party, I received a DUI. So this is the total costs in which I'm suing for all of the legal fees.
Well, that is very, very unfortunate. What's the nature of y'all's relationship?
So we are not friends.
Were you friends before?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we were not. We have a mutual friend named Rachel. She was the one who brought me to the party. At the party, it was Rachel and Vanessa kind of having their own thing going on, communicating. I felt left out, so I went to get some wine and eat something. I hadn't really eaten much that day. I had a small glass of red wine. They were talking in like the living room area. I went into the dining area, got myself a brownie. I have a sweet tooth, so that's what I wanted. I had no idea that it had cannabis in it. There was no signs indicating that there were any drugs in the food.
Right.
So upon leaving the party, I was feeling a little weird, but I thought that was just because it was awkward and uncomfortable for me. And
So you did not have a good time at this party?
I did not have a good time at this party, not at all.
Now, how many glasses of wine did you have, ma'am?
Not even one.
Not even one. It was the cannabis that was giving you the adverse feelings.
Absolutely.
So describe to me how you felt when you were leaving.
I mostly felt awkward. I felt a little tired, but I thought that might be like energy drain, kind of a psychological more than physical feeling. I was just feeling woozy, really tired. I got the DUI from rolling through a stop sign, and the officer asked how I was doing, what was going on, and he assumed that I was under the influence because I couldn't really communicate in the way that I wanted to.
Right.
I was put in the back of his car and brought to jail. I spent the evening in jail until Rachel could bail me out.
So you ended up having to spend $1,209.99 on expenses associated with the DUI.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any evidence, ma'am, for me to see?
I do, yes.
Go ahead and give everything to my bailiff.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so you have had to take a DUI class, which is often the case. You had to have your license reissued, the tow fee for your car, because of course an officer is not going to let you get back in front of the wheel after you are clearly intoxicated. And of course the ticket itself, totaling $1,209.99.
I'm also a teacher, so there's an added level of not wanting to be in that kind of trouble.
Yeah, it's not just the driving aspect. It's all of the tangential civic things. You're very fortunate that you're not going through, I don't know, a child custody dispute right now, because that would be used against you in your custody hearing. You better believe it. Before I get too far down this road, I do want to hear from you, Ms. Tyson. So this was you throwing a party for casual friends at your home?
Yes, Your Honor. I throw parties every Friday night. It's a known thing with all my friends. My friend Rachel was in town. We are friends from high school, and I was catching up with her after years of not seeing her, and she brought Steph along with her. I am not familiar with Steph. I don't really know her very well. But I put these brownies out every Friday. Everyone knows that they're laced with THC. There is a sign next to the pan, and everything on the table is set out in a way that there's alcohol, brownies that are laced, and then there's snacks that don't have any kind of alcohol or THC in them. Yes.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
You're telling me this is the first time in your life that you have seen this sign?
This is the first time I've ever seen that sign in my entire life, yes.
What do you say to that, Ms. Tyson?
I say that's untrue.
So you think she's lying?
I think she's illiterate.
Ooh.
And later,
Tina deceived me. I paid her $1,000 to sing at my wedding, and all she did was lip sync.
The defendant is a fraud and a complete scam. So you woke up a brand new bride, and this is what you went to post?
if you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with the case of Steph Foley, who blames Vanessa Tyson for her DUI legal fees.
So it's your understanding then, Ms. Tyson, that this party is so frequent and customary in nature that everybody is already on notice or should know that the THC is in these particular brownies?
Yes, Your Honor, and there's always a reminder every time the party starts.
What kind of reminder, ma'am? Are you telling people?
I tell people when they come in the door. There's also a sign next to the pan. Okay. The party started at 7. I think Steph and Rachel showed up a little later, around 8 p.m.
So she didn't hear the announcement?
She didn't, but Rachel was aware.
Did Rachel tell you anything about this, ma'am?
She told me after the fact. After I was bailed out, she asked me.
Like physically, literally bailed out?
Literally bailed out.
Okay.
Literally brought money and bailed me out of jail.
Yeah, wow.
Where I was for the night. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, she asked me if I had eaten anything. I told her I ate a brownie. That's when I realized the brownie had cannabis in it because she told me then. So after the fact, after all these things, I was told. Not
so
during
you didn't even know, as you were being arrested, why you were intoxicated?
Yes.
Wow, that's wild, Ms. Tyson. Let me ask you, do you have any evidence for the court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, please give that to my bailiff, all of it in its entirety. It would be really great if you had a photo of these brownies with this alleged sign warning people of the THC consumption. Is that going to be in this folder, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, well, I was just shooting out, just putting it out there. Okay, let's see. I do see a sign. It says weed brownies laced with THC, and you're purporting that this was in front of the brownies.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, now I really was hoping that it was going to be a photo of the pan of brownies with the sign in front of it so I could be totally clear that this notice was giving its intended impact. But I do see a sign, and you're purporting that this was the actual sign.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so your contention, Ms. Tyson, is that this was totally the plaintiff's fault. You did everything you could do to put everybody in the room on notice of the cannabis.
Yes, Your Honor. And if I would have known that that happened to her, I would have let her stay at my house. We would have driven her home. I never want to put my friends in an unsafe position. That was not the goal in the situation.
Did she look high to you?
Unfortunately, I didn't really socialize with her very much. I was catching up with Rachel. She kind of ran off doing her own thing, and I was socializing with people in another room. So I didn't even see her eat the brownie, nor did I see her leave the party. I had no idea. Okay.
And Ms. Foley, what do you say about this sign? Allegedly, there was this big sign by the brownies. Did you miss this?
I did. There was no sign that I saw or could read. I would assume that if you're putting drugs in food, you would use a bigger sign or a more vibrant sign, perhaps.
So you're telling me this is the first time in your life that you have seen this sign?
This is the first time I've ever seen that sign in my entire life, yes.
What do you say to that, Ms. Tyson?
I say that's untrue.
So you think she's lying?
I think she's illiterate.
Oh. Ooh. Well, Ms. Foley, that is quite a searing accusation.
I certainly can read. I don't think I would be able to text and send you those messages if I didn't know how to read and was illiterate. I don't think I'd be a teacher either and have a degree if I was illiterate. I would just assume that you would put out a sign that says drugs are in the food. Who knows what else was in the food?
Okay, ladies, I'm going to allow you, Ms. Tyson, to have a final word here, only because I am prepared to make my ruling shortly, and you are the defendant here with, last thoughts.
Yes, Your Honor. I want to say that if I ever knew that she was in a situation like that, I would have done everything I could have to help her.
Ms. Tyson, I don't believe that you did anything deliberate to undermine this young woman's safety or the safety of others. However, it's your house. It's your party. Ultimately, it's your guest list. So the argument that you want the court to consider in your favor is that you throw these parties every Friday. Everybody knows it's customary that my brownies are special brownies. But the issue is not everybody knows. Ms. Tyson, it is not reasonable to expect a first-time guest in your home, ma'am, to know the customs and patterns that you employ in your social setting. That's not reasonable. It is your responsibility to make sure that that is emphatically imparted. And while I can appreciate this little homemade sign of yours, it is not compelling enough for me to believe that this woman is lying about seeing it. You put her in a situation, ma'am, where she had unwilling consumption of a product that ultimately could have cost her life. Let's be clear. We're here today talking about a DUI. People die from DUIs every day. I certainly cannot ask this woman to bear the cost of what was an involuntary consumption of cannabis at your house, on your property, at your consent by herself. Thus, the court will rule in favor of the plaintiff for the cost incurred for involuntarily consuming a cannabis brownie at the defendant's home. Rule in favor for the plaintiff, $1,209.99. That is my judgment.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $1,209.99.
Any final words for each other?
Tell people when you put drugs in food. That's it. That's all I have to say.
I heard you the first, second, and third time.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
My band and I pre-record all of our songs so that in an emergency, we are still able to perform and fulfill our contract and not ruin Mrs. Olson's day
No, that's
or
not
our
even in the
client's day.
contract.
This is Equal Justice. Lucy Olson claims the wedding singer she hired lip-synced, which she didn't agree to. Tina Graham says her voice was strained after the bride demanded an extra rehearsal. Ms. Graham is countersuing for $1,000.
I see Lucy Olson here as my plaintiff, suing for $1,000, and Tina Graham, Ms. Defendant, suing as well, countersuit $1,000. Ms. Olson, why are we in court today?
Tina deceived me. I paid her $1,000 to sing at my wedding, and all she did was lip sync. It ruined my wedding, my vision for the wedding. What happened was we met up at a cafe after I spoke to her on the phone, and we went over the contract for the service.
Yes.
And after that, I paid her $1,000.
Okay, ma'am, do you have any evidence to show the court a contract that you mentioned? Anything? Okay, go ahead and give that
Yes.
to my bailiff.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The singer and her band will perform during the wedding reception, $1,000 paid. Why were you lip syncing?
Because last minute, Lucy Olson, she failed to mention that she texted me on the day of her wedding and asked me and my band to come and do an extra rehearsal. It is standard for me to come and do a sound check, but she asked me to do a fuller rehearsal in that room.
The day of the wedding?
The day of the wedding, and I have the text messages here.
Okay.
Where
Give those to my bailiff, ma'am. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to interject.
Ma'am, I'll get right with you in a second. Go ahead.
So
ma'am.
you'll see the text messages here, where she makes that request, which for me is above and beyond something I would normally do.
Okay, let's read this. Would you be able to show up 2 hours before to rehearse for the wedding? Just want to make sure everything is sounding okay. You says, we'll be all good to go. I don't think this is needed. I typically don't do that in order to preserve my voice. You say, respectfully, I would like you to show up early to make sure everything is sounding okay. You'll be fine. You say, okay, copy that.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Do not hire her for a wedding or event. You'd be better off taking $1,000 and throwing it out the window. So you woke up a brand new bride, and this is what you went to post?
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a case of Lucy Olson, who brought Tina Graham to court for lip syncing at her wedding.
Now I'm looking at some messages I see here. Hi, Tina, I saw a post on social from a former client of yours claiming that you defrauded them. This has given me serious reservations, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be going with you for my wedding singer. I wish you the best of luck. This was a separate client?
This is referring to my countersuit and a separate client I lost because of Lucy
so this
Olson.
is, I'm looking at, I guess, this social media post
Yes.
here. The defendant is a fraud and a complete scam. Do not hire her for a wedding or event. You'd be better off taking $1,000 and throwing it out the window. That's from your social media account, Ms. Olson, yes?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So you posted this when?
The day after.
So you woke up a brand new bride, and this is what you went to post?
I was very upset.
Judge, I'd like to add
Yes.
that I preserve my voice before I perform. So during the rehearsal, my vocal cords became strained and slightly damaged, and so I had my band pause on that because I knew I needed to rest my vocal cords if I was going to perform. And I tried to sing right before we were supposed to go on, and my voice wasn't there, so I had lost that control. If I were to sing, it would have further damaged my voice. So in emergencies like these, my band and I pre-record all of our songs so that in an emergency, we are still able to perform, fulfill our contract, and not ruin Mrs. Olson's day
No,
or
that's
our
not even in the
client's day.
contract.
Let me ask you a question, Ms. Olson. Did you have a communication with this woman to say, hey, I'm disappointed, what happened, I want my money back?
I told her at the end of the night that I was not satisfied with what she did. She said that she performed a service and that she wasn't going to give me my money back.
Ms. Graham, did she ask for her money back?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay,
So
that
according-
she's making this up.
Judge Eboni's verdict when Equal Justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
So you believe that you fulfilled all of the terms and conditions of this
Yes,
performance?
because the
Go ahead
contract-
and give that to my bailiff, ma'am.
The contract states that I perform, and I did perform by dancing with my band, and my band was still all completely live.
The way in which you are defining performance is not satisfactory to the court. I do not believe that it is reasonable to presume that if one contracts a live vocal band for services at a wedding, that they would expect to have an audio recording. That's just not reasonable. So this is not an adequate execution of your part of the deal. Now, that said, you have satisfied the court with showing that you had lost wages of $1,000 directly associated with the fact that this young lady, the plaintiff, posted such an egregious social media post. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to order the plaintiff to have her ruling of $1,000 granted. You're going to get your money back, but neither one of you is going to see a dime because, ma'am, I'm also ruling in favor of the countersuit for the defendant because you did cost her $1,000. I think the two of you owe each other, and the two of you really needed much more communication to avoid this going forward. So both claims are granted. That's my ruling.
Judge Eboni has ruled. Both parties have been awarded $1,000.
Any final thoughts for each other?
Maybe next time you'll auto-tune instead of lip sync.
Maybe if you spent more time with your husband on your wedding day rather than paying attention to my lip syncing, we wouldn't be here right now.
Okay. You had your day in court. Please grab your belongings and follow me.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.